Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another edition of Hilaal Live. My name is Luqman Shadrack, all the way from the Cape Town studios. I trust you had a great Tuesday and even a better weekend. I think everyone's still excited about the box winning. Unfortunately, not my team I support, and I'll be the opposition this weekend, unfortunately. So I'm getting flack from my colleagues already. So we're going to do a rugby analysis in the later part of the week as well. So do join us for that. But today it's back with our edition. It's the ongoing series dedicated to the vital topics of land and housing in Cape Town, where over 365,000 households are waiting for their dream home. The question on everyone's mind is, how can we ease the housing crisis? So many individuals aspire to be homeowners, yet they often feel lost in this process as well. But fret not, tonight we've delighted to have in studios the good people from BITPROP, and they're going to unveil a couple of secrets of how you could turn that dream into a reality. I'd like to welcome first Dylan Walls, who's the Marketing and Communications Manager from BITPROP. Good evening, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Luqman.
My pleasure. And then also architect Anika, Hanekom. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Now, it's a very vital topic that we've been discussing over the last couple of months on Hilaal TV, but also in general in South Africa. There seems to be just a gap that doesn't seem to be getting filled anytime soon as well. And various companies like yourselves are instrumental in trying to reduce that gap. But before we get into the topic, tell us a bit more about BITPROP.
Sure.
Who are you? How long have you been around for? Some history.
Yeah, so thank you. So BITPROP started in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do is we partner with property owners in the township. So it'll be someone with a property, they have a house on the property and space behind that they want to develop rental property on. Some of them may have tried to develop already. They might have shacks on the property or a half-built flat or whatever the case is. They partner with us. We provide the financing, the construction expertise. We have our architectural team. And we develop 4 or 6 bachelor flats on the property.
Okay, so to use as what? Rental?
Rental. That's behind their house. So they're still living in the main house, generally with their family there. And then they get tenants into the flats behind their property. We help them find the tenants, provide maintenance, insurance. And for 10 years, they're in partnership with us. And we share the rental income over that time. So the property owner gets a new income stream. We make a sustainable investment model so we can build for more properties. And after 10 years, we step away and the property owner has a significant asset on their property and a sustainable rental income that for most of them is either a pension asset or something to leave for their children.
For their estate. We live in South Africa, where I would imagine that a whole lot of issues could arise from this as well. For example, we do know tenants have more rights than landlords, or in some instances. What happens if a tenant doesn't pay their rental? Then what happens?
Yeah, well, and it's difficult. I think one of the things our partners don't realize when they start, okay, it's great, you get flats on your property, it's a good income stream, but it's actually a lot of work.
It is, yeah.
You suddenly have 5 new families living on your property, and there's a lot of...
Are you ready for that? Letting go of your privacy.
It's a big commitment.
Now it's going to affect that.
So we do a lot of, it's quite a hand-holding process. We want to, over the 10 years, take the person from being a brand new landlord, for most of them they haven't done anything like this before, to a micro property entrepreneur. And that involves all of those things. If a tenant doesn't pay, what do you do? Have you got a lease agreement in place? Are you collecting a deposit? Mediation and that sort of thing. But largely, it's not an issue.
Okay, so how do you go about doing this? I mean, surely there's a process that you've done. And how long has the company been around for?
Almost 5 years.
5 years, okay.
Yeah.
So I would imagine during that 5 years, there's been a couple of learning processes, a couple of stumbling blocks and trying to get over those hurdles as well. How do you actually get the project underway? So say, for example, I've got a house, I've got a property, I've got space for 3 flats, right? How does the entire engagement process work?
Sure. So a lot of our growth has been word of mouth. but we have a couple of people who are out explaining how it works, helping property owners identify, is this the right option for them? If so, and if they're in the right area, their property, it can fit the plans that Anika would draw.
Okay.
Then we'll go through an application process with them, assess the property, the person, the zoning and that sort of thing. And then we partner with local contracting companies. So we have 4 at the moment from the areas we build in. These areas are all in Cape Town.
Okay, brilliant. So you're primarily in the Cape region for now?
We're only in Cape Town at the moment.
Currently, we're building in places like Langa, Eersterivier. We're also Khayelitsha, obviously, and Blue Downs. So those are the 4 areas that
it's such a great innovative idea, because now you align that property to be utilized, which was just wasted space to a large extent. Suffice that it meets that person's requirements and yours as well. And also giving them an additional income. We know how additional income is so difficult to source these days. So let the land work for you. Brilliant. Okay. So how else do you engage with the property owner? I mean, do you that hand-holding process in terms of generating that income, how to utilize it? Is there a payback method? How does it work?
Yeah. I mean, you engage with the property owner a lot up front.
Yeah. So just the first part that we deal with is the hand-holding with the construction process. So it's explaining to them what's going to be on their property, what that means, how it's going to look, some 3D views of how that's going to look, explaining to them how many flats are going to be on there, and then getting in contact with our construction manager, and then she goes through that whole process with them, making sure that they're comfortable with the construction workers on their property and all those types of things. And then after that happens, it gets handed over to the rental team, and then that's kind of where Dylan and everyone starts.
Okay. Now, the financing of all of the project, how does that work? Is it goes according to the person's budget? I mean, is there criteria in terms of how a person qualifies for a property?
So we've made it quite standard across all properties. So we have a standard design Anika's worked on, and that's got a set cost. And we will look to build 6 flats on every property. That's what we've determined is sort of the optimum based on load on the property and that sort of thing. Sometimes 4 if there's not enough space. And that's that. We will build 6 or 4 flats, and that's a fixed cost. It's not, we're not offering a loan. It's a partnership on the rental income stream. So we take the risk there.
So you pay for the building of the property?
Yeah.
We pay for construction.
You recoup that from the rental?
Yeah.
Okay, that's brave, I must say. I mean, because like I said, all of this must have worked out in the challenging process or the setup process, where those possible challenges may come into play should something go off the table. All right. Currently, how many properties do you have on the go?
So in construction, we have about 100 at the moment, but that are operating, we have about 290 units. So when I say units, it's bachelor units that are currently.
So what's it like? A 1-bedroom or just complete one room that's separated into kitchen, bathroom? That type of thing?
It's a bachelor unit, so meaning it's not a 1-bedroom that has a door, so it's all open plan. Then it obviously has its own separate ensuite bathroom with everything that you need in it.
It's like the new flats in Cape Town.
Definitely.
Everyone's building them like that. It's all open plan, but they go for 800 to $1 million. These are far cheaper as well. But that's the economy way of living these days. It's very open planned, especially for people that want to work in Cape Town, in the city, that are from far away. For example, if they travel from Easterfontein or wherever the case may be, and they just want to be closer to work. This may be a source of income for the landlord, but also a place for them to stay as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So currently 200 and odd. That's on the go.
We're almost, let's say by the end of this year, beginning of next year, we're looking at 500 units complete and operating.
In 5 years, that's amazing, guys. Well done.
500 units in 5 years.
Well done. Well done. So lots of long hours, late nights, weekends, things like that. And are you involving local builders in this process?
Yes,
So local companies that put up houses and all of that?
Yeah, so we currently have 4 main contractors, and I think each contractor has about 50 to 60 people employed at any given moment.
Nice.
So there's about, in total, 200 people working on BITPROP flats around the clock. So that's amazing to see that our contractors are employing local people.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that as well, because now we're creating jobs.
Sure, and the cool thing is we haven't brought in any construction companies. We've identified existing contractors who are already doing some level of construction in each area that we're working in, and over time we've worked together to find the best way of doing this, and it works for both of us. If we're rolling projects, they're able to provide consistent income for their team and obviously their team's families.
We're not talking about the big 5 construction companies here. We're talking about local artisans that have a couple of workers each, and sourcing an income for them as well. Brilliant. I like that. In studio we have BITPROP discussing about a very innovative way about how you could utilize your land and turn that into rental property. We're going to open up the WhatsApp line very soon, and if you'd like to correspond and ask them any questions, you're more than welcome to do so. 079 085 2511. Maybe you could be part of this amazing project. You are still watching Hilaal Live. Thanks for tuning in to Hilaal Live, live from the Cape Town studios. I'm Lukman Shadrack. In studio, BITPROP, innovative idea on how to create an income for yourself, but more importantly, to alleviate some of the housing issues that we are facing in our beautiful country. We are speaking primarily in the Western Cape for now, and they're hoping to expand, and you can be part of this project as well. In studio, Dylan Walls, who's the Marketing and Communications Manager, and Anika Hanekom, who is an architect at BITPROP. Guys, thanks once again for coming in. Really appreciate it. So the project's been a couple of years old. You've now identified certain places that you can now, the landlord can create an income. We can alleviate some of the housing structures. Well, but Anika, I want to bring you in terms of the architecture and the structure of the property. I mean, is it, one always wonders whether this is going to withstand some of our winds and rains that we have in the Western Cape. Is this all considered when building?
Yes, definitely. One thing that's really big with BITPROP right now is we're trying to go as green as possible.
Nice.
And so, but working in these areas that we're working with, usually green materials would be timber construction, those types of things. But we've noticed that the need there is masonry construction with bricks. And to do that sustainably, we've partnered with CRDC, which uses something called Resonate, which is recycled plastic particles that are being put and mixed into bricks. And so these bricks is what's being used. So for a 6-unit build, we almost use about 6 tons, just a little less than 6 tons of recycled plastic that actually goes into our building. Nice. But it doesn't look any different. It's still solid.
Durable?
Durable, definitely. Okay. It actually has more better thermal properties than actual brick. So these are things that we've definitely considered. We're also using Envirolite, which is a very lightweight concrete block structure for our our first and second floors things. So yeah, that's the type of plastic recycling that we're trying to get into our builds.
I should have said the smart people from BITPROP, because this is a very lovely idea, because you're recycling, number one, you're saving the environment. It's probably far cheaper to build as well, costing less.
I think it's relatively the same.
Much.
Sometimes a little bit more expensive, but we realize that it's actually a better product in the end. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Are you just building single units? Do you have a double-story unit as well?
Double-story, yeah. Okay. So it would either be 2 units at the bottom, 2 units at the top, which makes 4, or 3 units at the bottom, 3 units at the top, which is then 6.
Okay, so it depends whether you want a room with a view or you just want to be left alone and live at the bottom.
Definitely.
What's the construction period like? I mean, look, we have very unforgiving weather in Cape Town, and winter's been very unforgiving this year. That I would imagine hinders your building process.
Yeah, especially with all the rain that we've been having, it was a little bit of a challenge. But right now it's about 2.5 months to 3 months.
Okay, all
yeah.
right. That's quite quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so at least with winter, you could have offered the option of having a pool as well with all the rain that we had. So there we go. I'll take my commission on that idea. But I would imagine that process as well, like you said, there's a lot of education that needs to happen with the landlord of how long this process takes. And this is where you get involved, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think education is still the most difficult thing because it's such a complex concept, the financial side, the maintenance, the relationship management with tenants, etc. And everyone comes from different levels of understanding or experience with landlording beforehand. So we have to do a lot of work. We've got some fantastic people on our team who work in person over the phone with the landlords. Of course we have training material, but it's really working with them in that first couple of months. Okay, this is the first time a tenant's come to you with this problem. How do you respond to it?
Right.
This is how you advertise on Facebook. This is how, etc. And it's very much our team working with them to get the first few months out the way.
Okay, so I just want to reiterate as well. So you identify a certain property in the area. How do you go about engaging with the community? Do you have a community spokesperson? Do you go in on your own cold calling? How does that work?
I think, as I said earlier, it depends on the area. So each area is different. The first areas we worked in, maybe we knew someone, we built for someone's mom, and then her neighbor wanted us to build, and then it just spread like wildfire. In other areas, we've had to at least make ourselves engage with the street committee.
Does municipality get involved anywhere here? I mean, or maybe on the building side?
Yeah, only on the council side.
Yeah. We make sure that we adhere to all council rules.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and zoning rules. That's related to each
project. But I mean, basically, if the neighbor says, and we all know, COVID's hit us hard. People are still recovering from COVID, and you guys were in the height of building during that time, or just before, I would imagine. So that must have halted things a little bit when COVID hit.
Yeah, we were in our second year then. We had a couple of projects that were stopped for 3 or 4 months, and it was mostly just surviving and figuring out, how do we get through this? But rent still came in. People still needed a place to live. The rental market in the areas we work in is incredibly resilient.
Okay.
And so it was working to understand with tenants who maybe lost their job and needed to make a plan.
Brilliant.
The same problems everyone had.
Of course, yeah.
But it wasn't, we were largely unaffected on that side.
So take me to the process. I just want to understand. You build a property. You take a certain portion of the rental, so does the landlord, over what period of time?
10 years.
10 years. Yeah. Okay, so after 10 years, it then belongs to the landlord, and they then collect the entire amount.
Yeah, yes. And we actually never take any ownership of the property.
Right. It's just the contractual agreement that you would
on the income stream. Yeah.
Nice. I like that. Okay. How do people? Just very quick before I get there, the quality assurance on this type of units, I would imagine, goes through a whole rigmarole with regards to the city's requirements.
Yeah, I mean that's why we have our architects, our engineers, everyone working to make sure that this is actually safe and up to standard. And I mean, that's the whole point. It's bringing really quality building into areas that are usually quite unregulated. And we're making sure that there's proper quality housing with running water, electricity, prepaid electricity, these types of things. It's just the standard that we have to uphold.
Look, it's a very unusual type of project. People often, as South Africans, we're very skeptical when it comes to hearing about something like this. What's the catch? Do you get that question often?
A lot.
Okay. Yeah. So what's your answer?
My answer is that there's no catch, but it's not easy to be a landlord. You have to work. You're not putting money into it, but you have to work with tenants. You have to let a construction team onto your property. You have to, be willing to solve problems on a Saturday afternoon when you'd rather be chilling.
Right.
It's a it can be a full-time job.
Yeah, and obviously there's things like Eskom that comes into play. I mean, tenants don't understand. Hey, it's Eskom. They think it's the landlord's issue.
Yeah, it's not your fault, but
yeah.
you still get the blame.
What about the upkeep of the property? How does that? Whose responsibility is that? Landlord versus you guys?
That's us.
Okay.
So we have a maintenance team that
nice.
Is obviously very familiar with all the properties.
Yeah,
so
whatever. It's paint or
yeah.
plumbing and things like that. So you guys take full responsibility for that.
Yeah.
Within the 10-year period.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that as well because you have the experience and you're working with experienced people already, so they can solve those issues. Because also as a tenant or as a landlord, you wouldn't want your tenant to suffer very long without water or electricity for whatever the reason.
Oh, exactly.
Okay. How do people get hold of you? I mean, if they're listening to this interview, watching this interview, and they're saying, you know what, I've got some space available, but I live out in Muizenberg. Can this still be done?
Theoretically, it can be done in lots of areas. We've been very conscious about how we've expanded because more from an operational point of view, where we can spread our resources around.
Offices?
Our offices are in town.
Okay.
We started in Khayelitsha. We're in a few different areas there.
Okay.
Kwezi Park, Eersterrivier, Langa, looking for more areas.
Okay.
So it's also helpful to know where the demand is coming from.
Okay.
And then there are, of course, other factors to consider, like zoning and what the city wants us to do.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your advice to someone that would like to go into this? What should they run through very quickly, what they need to consider?
I think the first thing to consider, do you want to live with people on your...
Yeah.
I know I'm repeating that point, but that will be 10 years of your life.
Okay.
And for our
and
property
probably
owners,
take away 20 years of your life as well. In terms of some of the challenges that could come through, potentially.
Sure. But it's worth it. You know, if it's an investment in your income in the future and your asset, then it's does your property have space to build? At the moment, we only build on the backyard. We don't build on top of an existing structure.
Okay.
Okay.
So how do people get hold of you? They'd like to go to do one of the projects.
So our website is www.bitprop.com. That's the best place to get information.
Guys, well done. Sure. Thanks for enduring the last 5 years and creating an income and alleviating some of the housing issues. May all your projects go from strength to strength.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Hanekom and Dylan, thanks for coming into studio.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, there we go. BITPROP. If you'd like to take on one of those projects and maybe get a stream of income into your property or onto your property, get hold of them. bitprop.co.za, right? Okay. After the break, we chat to and revisit someone that's been in studio and a very motivational speaker and just an all-around nice guy. Join us after the break as we chat to Ahmad Solomons. You're still watching Hilaal Live.